Boon, big baboon, big baboon, big baboon, big.
Hello, I'm Professor C.
And I'm Professor K. According to the string theory, all of reality exists conceivably in 11 dimensions. The 5 dimensions revealed to us, 4 of space and 1 of time, and the other 6 are concealed to us.
The 0th dimension begins by allowing for a location to be given. A dot. A dot, a point, allows for nothing but the fortification of such location. It gives no size nor any other detail.
The first dimension begins with the creation of a second dot. This dot allows for a line to be drawn between the two. The addition of this line shows not only the path between the dots, but allows the possibility of other dimensions.
The 2nd dimension adds width in proportion to the plane in question, but it does not add depth. The 2nd dimension merely allows for the viewer to be put into the perspective of flat world. In flat, people such as Phil are unable to enjoy donuts or digestions because it would cause them to fall in half. Poor Pharaoh Phil.
The 3rd dimension is the most comprehensible dimension to be considered, because the 3rd dimension is life as we are experiencing it right now. Yes, look around you. Everything you see is in the 3rd dimension. For the 3rd dimension, we must take flat worlds such as Phil and give them layers.
The 4th dimension is the dimension of time. Yes, now you see the dimensions begin to become strange and hard to imagine. The entirety of 3-dimensional space at a certain moment is a point in the 4th dimension, and a line drawn from that point to another is the passage of time.
Boon, big baboon, big baboon, big baboon.
Although we perceive this distance as straight, it is actually undulating into the 5th dimension. Life's unlimited choices. To understand this, you may find it helpful to create a Mobius strip, like so, and imagine a tiny insect walking its entirety. Although the insect, in its insignificance, perceives that it is moving in a straight line, it is actually looping in the higher dimensions. This is what we experience when we think of time as a straight path.
The 5th dimension consists of branches or detours we take from lines coming from the 4th dimension. The infinite possible opportunities and paths in life are simply, as quantum physics would hold, collapsed into our 4th dimension of time by the act of observation. Theoretically, you can move back in time to your past self by bending the line of the 4th dimension, time, through the 5th and traveling back through space to get there. However, to reach an entirely different outcome of life not formally experienced, we can bend the 5th dimension via the 4th dimension, time, through the 6th to achieve the new self.
The 6th dimension is in a fold in the 5th. The 6th dimension is mainly just a way for the 4th and 5th dimensions to fuse together to create new abilities for the fabric traveler. Because of its ability to open up all of these new potentials, the 6th dimension is the window to the next set of dimensions.
The next dimension starts again with a point. In essence, infinity is the point in the 7th dimension.
In order to create a 7th dimensional line, one must find a second point to connect to the first point of the 7th too.
But how could you do that if you've already encompassed infinity?
That's a good question, Curly. There can be other or Big Bang, but with differences in behavior and outcome. Different initiations will create different universes with different basic physical laws. Thus, the 7th dimensional line is no less plausible than a 1st dimensional one. It is simply to a larger degree. If one were to draw a new line branching off of this 7th dimension line to connect to another infinity, one would place himself in the 8th dimension.
As we discussed earlier, one can jump from one dimensional point to the next simply by folding that dimension through the one above it. This rule continues to apply to the 9th dimension. Thus, the 9th dimension, like the 6th, is simply a fold connecting the 8th in a new way by utilizing the 7th.
To imagine the 10th dimension, one must be able to grasp all of the possible universes and their possible timelines as becoming one point in the 10th dimension for a 10th dimensional line to be drawn connecting. just as the 0th, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd became a point of the 4th to be connected with the 4th dimensional line of time. However, a 10th dimensional line cannot be drawn by us because it is impossible for the human brain to comprehend that abstract of an idea. A 10th dimensional point is composed of every possible thing the human mind could possibly think of, and thus nothing else can be done.
String theory allows us to consider the possibility of superstrings vibrating in the 10th dimension. The vibration of these strings is said to create the subatomic particles that make up our universes.
As we have discussed, a line in any dimension can be connected to another by the action of folding a line through the above dimension. Therefore, all possible planes of existence of a single point in time, of all possible branches, of all possible timelines, of all possible existences of one's life, of all possible universes, of all possible realities, is a single point in the 10th dimension, as composed of all potentials in all superseding dimensions.
Boon, big baboon, big baboon, big baboon, big baboon.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Hey there, there goes the Spider-Man. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Shooby-doo, rock-steady crew, find him an octoped ingenue with flair. There goes the Spider-Man.
In the heat of night, at the scene of the crime, with the speed of light, he arrives just in time.
Well, no red